a quick video to show you the cleaning of this MVS board, really how I approach this. I put a bit of sort of a bin bag down really, just because I'm doing this on carpet. If you're doing this on a table, you don't really need to do that. In fact, you can do it how you want to do it. This is just how I do it. So I put a bit of kitchen roll down there just to catch some of the isopropyl and stuff. I'm going to start by removing that PCB bridge for the cart. Take that off. In fact, we'll clean that up first actually. I'll just move this board out of the way. Move that into shot. Now what I've got here is a tub of isopropyl alcohol. It didn't really originally come in that water bottle. Make sure you label it up suitable if you do that. You don't want anyone sort of drinking out of it. It does look like water. And then I've just got like the nylon brush here, and I just tend to just dip this in, get some of the isopropyl on there, and start to brush the shit off. Effectively, it's rust and crap. I mean, some of these, it's interesting, the history behind some of these arcade machines. That's what I always think, is there's a story behind each one, or a story, many stories I guess behind each one, because it's either been sat in a pub or a restaurant or a hotel or an arcade or whatever. There's probably tens of thousands of people who've played on these, which I guess it's interesting. Of course, all that shit on the environment, builds up on them, and that's why they're covered in so much crap. Let's get a bit more isopropyl onto that. The nice thing, like I mentioned in another video, with isopropyl is it evaporates. It doesn't leave any residue, so it's a nice clean way of doing this. And I just tend to pour a bit over there like that, and then try and just brush it off. You can see there, that's soaking that up already. Just get a bit more kitchen roll down there just to make sure I don't get tons and tons of it leaking out everywhere. And there's many ways of doing this. Some people even recommend putting these in the dishwasher, which it's unorthodox, but it'll work. You've just got to be mindful of plastic parts and things. However you do it, it's just watch your temperature and stuff, and take anything off there that you think's a bit fragile or maybe sensitive to whatever that washing process is. But yeah, that's all I usually do with this, and just use this to get rid of any muck. And you can see that coming up there, it's like black mess. It's looking quite clean, that now. Just give the underneath a going over. A bit more of isopropyl. Let's give this good brushing. One thing you've got to watch for when you use kitchen roll to wipe this down is obviously it tends to shred and stick onto things. There's a few bits there stuck on some of those pins. Just got to make sure that's brushed off. You can see there the black crap coming off that. And then just use something to dry it with. You could use hot air. Some people just leave it to dry. Some people get like a hairdryer or something onto the job. Like I said, the nice thing with this is it evaporates, so you can just use the brush to get any bits and stuff off it at the end, and it will all dry of its own accord. It's surprisingly dirty, this actually. I didn't think it was going to be this dirty. inspecting this now for dry joints. Really, there are a few pins on there that look a bit suspect. Look like a few bits of kitchen roll on there. It's not so bad. I'll just leave that for a moment. And the cart slot there, as I've seen on the Mega Drive video I did, what I'd be tempted to do is get a piece of sandpaper and fold it so that you got sandpaper on both sides, and just stick the sandpaper push it in and out of the slots, you know, so move it all the way along until you've covered all of the slots, and generally that's okay. Sometimes you've got to bend these pins out with like a jeweler's screwdriver or something, you know, just poke into the little hole where they get bent, but these are very, very straight on. You can see that there's barely a pin out of place. It's almost like that's had one cart in it, stuck in a machine and left for 15 or 20 years by the looks of things. It looks like it's not had much use anyway. Okay, so let's move on to the PCB, main PCB that is. Going to be the same thing. Let's sort of start around there, I think. Whilst we're on the subject of these PCBs and stuff, you know, related story, I was watching one of Luke Morse's videos the other day, and there's many sort of, you know, documented professional ways of removing these SMT chips, specifically the RAM chips here. And I saw one of Luke's videos, and it's one, you know, it's a technique that I discovered that he shows on that video that I've never seen done before, which I think is brilliant. I really do. It's so simple, but it's so quick. And what he did is, you feed a piece of wire through underneath the pin, if you like, all the way along, so it comes out the other end. Solder it onto something nearby, so you've got a piece of wire attached throughout the pins, and then start heating the pins up, obviously, and then you pull the wire. And it, obviously, as the wire goes underneath the pin, it separates the pin from the board. And within, I think he demonstrated it, and although it was a bit awkward because he was doing it on camera, it did only take about a minute to remove the chip, which, you know, that's pretty good, really. I mean, you could do the same, you know, it's just the same, I guess, time-wise, if you use something like Chip Quick. But the problem with Chip Quick is its cost, I guess. You know, it's not cheap stuff, really. You could get hot air rework station onto it, but again, I don't think it's as easy. Personally, I think, you know, I've used hot air rework station on removing these chips in the past. And you know, it's not so bad if you do it every day because you get quite adept at doing it, but you know, the amount I've done in the last few years has been pretty low, really, with regards to SMT. So if you don't, you know, you're not experienced in it, you know, do a search for Luke Morse's video. I highly recommend that method that he's suggested, you know, he's come up with there, that he does himself, which it's genius, really. It really is. I don't know where he discovered it, whether he created himself, whether somebody's learned along the way, but it's a very nice, quick, effective way of removing those SMT chips. I can imagine it wouldn't perhaps work so well on these PLCC ones where, you know, the pin goes underneath the chip. I'm not even sure that it would work at all with that, really, because it's got to go underneath the pins, you know, underneath the legs, in order to be effective. As you can see, there's starting to clean up this, bits of glue all over the place here, and some of the nylon bits from my brush actually coming out as well. It's going to take a while to clean this. I think what I'll do is I'll just cut back once I've cleaned this up a bit. You get the general principle there. It's just a case of going over it, brushing it all off, then put it at an angle, brush the sides and things until it all basically comes off there. You could rinse it off. You could even just, like say, you could put this in a dishwasher, but this is the way I tend to do it. Well, I finished cleaning that now. You can see how dirty this was. I mean, just look at the state of these bits of kitchen roll here. It's like yellow, I guess. There's been a lot of people smoking in the area. It's probably been in a pub or something like that. Yeah, so it's come out really clean. What I ended up having to do is pretty much use soap and water and actually rinse this off with a hairdryer. Only one of the problems I've got some sort of residue or something. I don't know whether it's flux from when this was originally sold. I don't know if you can see this. On that particular chip there, all the others are okay, really. There's a little bit on that one there. So I need to get this completely dried off now. Swap the battery as well. That battery needs to come off there. Before I do that, I'm just going to clean up the contact edge there for the jammer. Basically just using a razor, so I'll just go and get an eraser and I'll show you that process. Right, here we are, standard pencil eraser. So all you need to do really is literally just give these a rub. The nice thing about this is it's a non-abrasive way of doing this. If that doesn't clean the contacts up and you're finding problems with connectors, you could always use a wire brush. That's what I use. But on this for the moment, I'm not going to risk anything abrasive on there. It doesn't need it. This should clean them up quite nicely, I think. And this is the same technique you use for any of these kind of edge connectors really. You can use them on Mega Drive carts and Lynx carts, Game Gear, Game Boy, anything that has a cart, sort of PCB edge, in order to make, the mating to the console or whatever. Hopefully you can see now, if you just look at the bit I've just done there, that comes out quite nice. Comes out pretty clean. Those ones there, looks still dirty. Down this side, nice and clean. Now for good measure, you can always give these a wipe down afterwards with a bit of isopropyl. Or you can do it before, whichever way you really want to do it. I tend to give it a wipe down with isopropyl afterwards, really just to get rid of a bit of oxidisation that doesn't come off, and you can see there it goes pretty black. So that's come out quite nice. Do the same on that side. There we go. Looking clean.